made its premiere here at South by Southwest. My first question is going to be for Brea. You've worked across horror both in front and behind the camera, and Grind leans heavily into satire about modern work culture. What interested you most about using horror and dark comedy to explore the anxieties surrounding the gig economy?
I mean, I think I speak for all of us that we're big horror fans. So horror is always going to be our natural inclination and the stuff that we want to make. We're fans first, maybe filmmakers first. I don't know. But horror is just such a great place to kind of explore these big political issues. It's kind of like a little spoonful of sugar with your politics. And the one thing we kept noticing, Ed and I, when we were creating this, is that all of our friends had anxieties about work. They had anxieties about the economy. They had anxieties about how to make ends meet, and we're working 3 jobs. And so it felt like the really fertile ground for a place to make a horror movie.
Awesome, awesome. And Chelsea, your previous work has shown a real comfort blending genre with humor and stylized storytelling. With Grind, how did you approach directing your segment so it stands out visually while still feeling connected to the larger world of the anthology?
Well, the nice thing about the intro and the outro is we shot that a year after we wrapped principal photography.
Okay.
So, just in case we wanted anything to change within those storylines. So that was really helpful. I also got to see the tone of everything, how it all cut together beforehand, which was really helpful. And then wanted to help bring their words and their vision to life through my style. The opening is very much an homage to. There's aspects that are an homage to David Lynch because he had passed 1 month before I shot it. So I definitely was inserting some of my own avant-garde agenda into some of them, which
Great.
they were open to, but that was it was a big advantage to me to already have the movie cut together, so I could use that as a reference. Tonally, color palette, characters, all of that.
Awesome, awesome. Ed, the anthology format allows Grind to explore several corners of the modern workforce, from delivery drivers to content moderation. When writing a script, how did you decide which pieces of the gig economy best captured the larger commentary about labor and exploitation?
Well, we threw them all up on a whiteboard, a big, huge whiteboard, and then we let them all fight it out. And there's still some that I think would have been great segments, and maybe Grind too. Who knows? But especially content moderator, we were like, that gives us a chance to do an anthology within an anthology with all the horrible videos he sees. So, yeah.
Awesome. Brea, because you also co-wrote the film, I'm curious about how the writing process evolved once the three of you stepped into directing your respective segments. Were there moments where the story changed significantly, or once you began visualizing it on the set?
No, not really. I mean, so Ed and I, we wrote MLM, which is the first segment, and we planned on shooting it, but we sort of mapped out the entire world and what the rest of the segments are going to be before we shot MLM. So we really knew what the world looked like. We knew the tone of the world. So everything was sort of mapped out. It took us another year to start shooting the rest of the movie because this is a DIY project. It's like super indie. So it just took us that amount of time to sort of get through to that point. But yeah, we kind of always knew what it was. I mean, there were certain aspects that changed. Like the last segment all takes place in a coffee shop that's unionizing. And that was originally a totally different segment. But for the most part, we kind of knew what it was going to look like. We knew tonally where things sort of went, and we wanted it to feel like a cohesive project. So like we knew that like the third segment was going to have our Dark Night of the Soul. We knew that we wanted the first segment to be poppy. So we kind of knew where we were going from the top as we were creating the world.
Awesome. That makes it a little easier, I believe. Chelsea.
Planning.
Yeah, planning. Yeah. I mean, who knew that would work? Chelsea, anthology films live or die by how well the individual pieces connect, just like Brea was talking about. As a director stepping into a shared project like this, how much collaboration was happening between you, Brea, and Ed to ensure the film felt that cohesion rather than separate?
I think that was one of the most important things, which they can touch on as well, but really making it feel cohesive was the goal. And obviously we were communicating with each other in a very big way. And a lot of times with anthologies, if it's not one director like Creepshow or Trick or Treat, they're not sharing information necessarily.
Which is weird, but it happens.
They're all separate
Yeah.
entities that are then put together, and then the wraparound tries to connect them all. But we were one cohesive unit through the whole thing ourselves, which then I think translated on screen.
Awesome. Ed, did you want to piggyback on that?
I just say hear, hear. I think Trick or Treat works so well because it's one writer, one director, and we have multiple directors, but just to have, it's crazy to me the way that anthologies are usually made. It's so balkanized. I don't think I ever said that out loud.
I like that.
Balkanized. And at the premiere, at the Friends and Family screening, someone came up to me and said, "Is this your first time seeing the movie all together?" And I was like, "What are you, fucking crazy?" And because to me,
yes, you are. You're in filmmaking. Yes, you are.
But the appeal of it is that it's such a cohesive unit.
Yeah, and we really thought of ourselves as sort of like we were creating a world, right? And,
Yeah.
And then once we got into the actual production of it, we wanted to like respect each other's processes as actors, and we all ended up producing each other's segments. But like the world itself was created, so we knew that as long as we were playing within this sandbox that we had built, it was all going to feel.
We always call it like a showrunner model.
Gotcha.
Like it'd be insane if when you make a TV show, you were like, okay, go make your episode and then bring it back when it's ready to air. Which is how most anthologies are made.
Ed, to continue with you, with Grind blending horror, sci-fi, and comedy while still maintaining a sharp critique of corporate culture, how did you approach striking that tonal balance so the satire lands without losing the tension or stakes of the horror?
I think it's a natural combination in a weird way because someone once told me that life is a horror comedy. It's
Who's told you that?
I told myself that during the press day yesterday, and I mean, life is just absurd and funny, and like from birth, I was right when I was born, my uncle was like tragically run over in a very funny scenario, and my father would always like he'd cross the street and he's like, "Don't worry, they always stop." That's what your Uncle Brendan used to say. And so like we always make jokes about whatever relative died, like literally at the funeral. So I got the sense that like the way to cut the tension of life is to make a joke out of it. And I just think, it just felt like a natural fit. Me and Brea's voice is very comedic. So
A couple follow-ups to wrap this up. You guys have all been great. Brea, the film's tagline is "The American Dream Just Clocked Out." When you look at today's work culture, from gig apps to influencer economies, what do you think horror is uniquely able to say about labor and exploitation that, say, romance and action films can't do?
I mean, I think horror we're thinking about people's anxieties. I mean, that's what any movie you see, we're actually looking at what scares us. I think what's great about people in horror is that we actually think about what scares us.
Yes.
We think about death.
Yes.
Think about dark things. That doesn't make us dark, but we are open to exploring those topics.
Yes.
And I think this was just a really great place for us to just start exploring something that we all have dealt with in some way, and we saw all of our friends dealing with. So, yeah.
Okay. Chelsea, you want to piggyback off of that one?
Well, it spoke to me, the material itself, aside from getting to work with both Brea and Ed, so many, like Brea said, so many people we know are part of this world. I am part of this world. You can't...
We live in the shadows.
Yeah. And you can't just be a director. You're a multi-hyphenate. You're a writer. You're a producer. You're doing all, like we were saying, side hustles. You're doing podcasts. I was doing house sitting and pet sitting, anything to pay the bills, because it's gotten so difficult to just be a creative. And also seeing our friends, it's so universal within our friends too. So kind of saying, we see you, we hear you, and I hope this is a cathartic watch for everyone.
Awesome. Ed, what for the final question, what about the anthology format makes this appealing to filmmakers right now? What is it about this particular story that is best told through multiple segments instead of just one cohesive segment?
I'll take this in two pieces.
Okay.
The first thing is, I've always loved anthologies. We're the same age. I don't know if you have the same affection for Tales from the Dark Side and Monsters and the original Twilight Zone.
You were just speaking my language.
Yeah.
Continue.
So I always love those, and like Tales from the Dark Side, the intro was so scary.
Tales from the Dark Side.
I'd always be like, I might see the most fucked up thing ever. But it was never really delivered that well. Although I do love some episodes still. But the promise of an anthology, something about it is just very creepy to me. But with this story, to tell a story about the economy, I think if we focus on a particular job, then the movie would be about that job. It wouldn't be about a spectrum of experiences. And I just think the anthology format has more to offer, and we've delivered.
Brea, what are your thoughts on what Ed just said?
Listen, Ed can say whatever he is.
I don't speak for him.
We are writing partners, but he has his own opinion. No, I think he's right. I mean, what's great is that we got to explore many different aspects of something we were interested in, which was the current state of capitalism in America right now. So that I think that the anthology format really lends itself to that, which is why you could make 1 million of these movies.
Exactly.
I mean, Ed said it's the only movie he's ever been on where, like, the crew starts coming up and pitching you ideas. Right, too. They're like, you should do a segment on this, or you should do a segment on this. Like, it's the only movie that other people have thought ideas about.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Well, I am not going to take any more of your time. Thank you all so much. This was fantastic. Love the film. Best of luck. Best of luck with the rest of the screenings, and we'll be seeing Grind and Panic Fest and a bunch of other things coming up here shortly. So best of luck with everything. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.